actually just sorting out that very issue this week.
Good.
And I can't see any reason why that can't happen.
Right, because it's all digital printing. I mean, they
Yeah.
may not be set up for it, right? We gotta explain to them why it makes sense. But all this like cafe press stuff and all those things they're all just digitally printing stuff anyway.
Yep. Oh
Even
no, it's not impossible. I think just like
right,
figuring out how to do it the most economic way. So it's like I mean, I'm such a fan of this whole airdrop thing. So it's like to even think about, if we select some wallets that have punks and then get those shirts made with their punks on it, just surprising people with that stuff, I think is a
yeah,
great idea too, right?
yeah.
So
Oh yeah, I mean, I can see the punk, and I can see under it the Telos Punks logo, and then right under that the nut. It's what number it is, right, in the series. I
yeah,
mean
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that now I'm like, okay, that's some cool shit right there.
yeah.
I'd be totally down on that.
I'm already kind of talking with them about developing kind of like an online store where I've seen it with like Kongs and that, where you connect your
Mhm.
wallet, so you have to basically verify that you have a punk to buy the merch too. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I'm so excited about that. That will be so cool. And once we set that up, so we're setting up a lot of infrastructure that then other people, other authors and artists, in our line, in sort of under the Telos Punks umbrella of projects, can they can use that whole thing, right?
exactly.
We can give them a little funding, we can give them a lot of tools, and maybe a little bit of funding here and there, and or like advance them some stuff so they can do marketing, and then get in exchange we get some of their NFTs that get dropped on members of the community in different ways, either using, so like there's ways we can do it, so it just could be random, or we could do stuff where everyone who has one gets a sort of commemorative badge, or we could pull in the leaderboard, like each punk will have a certain amount of points based on rarity, and if you want to get up the leaderboard, then you buy punks for that, and people, there will be there what we're talking about is there will be advantages for people who climb the ladder, right? Or higher probability of airdrops or something like that. There's a lot of ways we can do it, but no one's done that. No one's done that before. Like, I know we say leaderboards. I don't think anybody knows what we mean when we say, "Oh yeah, there's leaderboards." How do I go up a leaderboard? Oh, now I know. Like, I'm not just a Telescope Punk guy. I'm the number three person in on the Telos Punk leaderboard. And God, I would love to be able to buy another Telos Punk to pop up to number one.
Yeah,
Um, it gamifies it, right?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I know that like I'm super curious to see how people are going to name them and give them backstories, and just
Yeah, that's
how
gonna be cool.
just that added layer of personal, you know what I mean? Like the first one that I get, I'm gonna just pour my kind of heart and soul into, because I think that's important for me. But like just to see what other people come up with, how and how, if they embrace that character in interacting in the environment, or if they just use it as an NFT, right? Like how that kind of digital representation can have a different new energetic layer now.
Hmm.
That
Yeah,
really inspires me.
yeah. I mean, and have you talked about the corporate deals and things that we're, have we even shared that idea?
I don't think I've been pretty tight-lipped about that so far. So if you want to get into it,
Okay, well, stop me if you don't want me to.
no, have at her.
So, all right, I'll stay high level, but imagine that there are corporate deals, right? I mean, not that I'm all about the corporate deals, but I think that this is in the banquet of, or the buffet of options here. This is a kind of a cool one, right? These could be other NFT things. These could be exchanges. These could be whatever, right? They can sponsor these things, they can use, the ability for us to change our statuses and things like that, meet that go along with our punks, right? It means you can, if you want, you can put an advertising message for somebody else in, and they will pay you, right? We can have contests where Orville Redenbacher popcorn, wants to come together with Telos punks and reach out to our audience or whoever, right? And so they'll do popcorn airdrops, they'll allow you to, they'll say, hey, if you put, Orville Redenbacher or pop it up or whatever the thing is, hashtag or whatever in your thing, you can make money from that, right? And I mean, I think that's kind of cool. I mean, there's a lot of ways to use SocialFi. I don't think that's the coolest thing, but I think that in terms of adding value, it lets you create, find a group that's considered, the uh, a favored kind of set of influencers, right? Because they are the ones who either got in early and could get a Telos punk, um, or else they paid a lot for the privilege.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny. I was talking to Young Gerb, the guy that's done a few of the tracks
Mhm.
for us, and I was talking to him this morning a little bit about how I just find it so interesting too about how once people have the punks, that's their intellectual property, right? Like they can
Mhm.
do with it however they please, and it's such an uncharted territory of what people can do with their NFTs as just a digital asset. And like I've seen a few guys from Bored Ape like sold their or they use their ape for like coffee branding and stuff,
Mhm.
like really small stuff like that. But like just to see what people want to end up doing with it, because like I know for a few of the NFTs I have, like I've repurposed them in cartoons of my own.
Telos Punks
And
is building a
it's
community
given
that
me the
values
ability to get a
engagement,
bit of traction in the
ideas shared.
space too because of it. So it's
Mhm.
like I want to see kind of that permutation of what people do with your art after it's out of your hands.
Yeah.
That's just like the coolest part, right? Because like I think for me that happened with this 3D guy brought on board, and
Mhm.
like I was just going back and forth with him about some ideas, and he just took what I did and ran with it, and it just ends up kind of feeding my energy back into the project too. So it's
Yeah.
I just love that idea that um and again, it comes back to the Telos thing is we're just a team of people who just kind of don't do things by template, and we end up building new kind of die
Yeah.
cast for how we're going to move forward with it, right? So it's like, and I think to keep keep that constant innovation in how we can move forward with it, like that's why I'm addicted to Telos, is it's like nobody's got any slack, right? Like it's just everybody's on 100% all the time with um I think just bringing their A game, at least the people I interact with. Like it's just it's
Oh
funny. I
yeah.
was trying to explain because I recently moved to the West Coast, and I didn't really get to make any friends during COVID, but the connections and the people I've met in crypto, and more succinctly in Telos, it's just like I can't wait to meet all of you guys. Like it's there's such meaningful relationships to me, and I think if we can port any of that over into Telos Punks, that's a win, right? Like I love that
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, and I'm sure we will. I mean, we already are doing it. I mean, one of the things is we could have hit the 12th. The thing I didn't want was I felt like we were in what we were doing, we had a pretty much a fixed future roadmap. We had
Yeah,
these five or six things, and we had maybe said we could do some other things, but what we didn't have was, nothing over the horizon, right? We could see to the horizon, and that's where we would get, and we'd probably knock that out in less than a year, and then they would be. right? But I wanted to plug in just enough more that it could be that, there was always going to be, like, I wanted to plug in a couple things that we didn't actually know how we were going to use yet, but
Yeah, yeah,
knew that they
exactly.
would be cool to use. And so when I went back, and that's what D Realms. That's part of how the D Realms gaming decentralized gaming universe was working. I said, well, we should just pull this. I'm going to be in charge of that project, so I know I can do it in a way that we can pull these assets in too if we at least start it. So um, if anybody's interested in that stuff, they could actually go to the drealms.io website, or there's a good block gaming video on YouTube that they could see, and you'll see what I talk about a bit about there about like what I really want to see, which is, I want to build a cool sandbox, that has, room for more sand, lots more sand.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if we're
Um,
only, it's not fun to make stuff. It's not really fun to make stuff where you know exactly what everything you're ever going to make. That's a job, right? But like if you're going to make something where you could make a lot of, you don't know what you're going to make, but you know whatever it is going to be cool because there's so many opportunities. Then that's art.
yeah. No, I totally agree. I totally agree. Well, maybe this is a good spot to kind of open up the floor. If anybody's got any questions, they want to jump in here. Raise your hand. I'm hovering over the accept speakers here, so if you're gunning, let me know. Um, Otherwise, so I'll keep an eye out for hands as they come up here. But what maybe what can we expect then? Kind of day one when we mint here.
Well, in the first 8 minutes, we'll sell all of them, of course, and then
I love it.
yeah. Yeah. I think if honestly, I think in this next, what is it, like 12 days or so, if people actually understand what we are really doing instead of what people think you're doing when you're doing a regular NFT drop, we'll mint out in minutes. I really do think so. If people understand that. Um, because there's nothing like, there's really nothing like these things. Like, it hasn't been done, and it's not like we're coming out with one feature. We're coming out with a number of really cool features that no one's done before, and enough sort of like open hooks into it that we can do a lot more in the future. It really just opens it up. So but I think what'll happen probably is people who get it will buy a lot because they will find 200 telos or 180 telos to be an extremely low cost for these. And if you get it, you'll probably hoard a bunch. I'm gonna hoard a bunch.
Yeah,
I'm
me
not
too.
gonna cheat or anything like that, but I'm gonna you know get a blister smashing that mint button. Um, I mean, I just am. I just think these things are going to be worth so crazy much ever that, in short time that I would love to have extra, and then, I'll probably, since what I get is going to be pretty random, I'll probably look very closely at which ones, maybe really appeal to me, and I'll try and see if I can buy those in a nice, raise the floor price a little, and also get some that I really want that I didn't get by minting.
Yeah,
Um, that's what I'm going to do. I think a lot of people are going to be sharing them. I think people are going to be setting their statuses up. I think we're going to try to get. My hope is that tools that we have working for the EVM NFT display tools will be ready. That's outside my control, but eventually those will become ready, and then watch out because these things are going to be really cool. It's an addition. We have this Telos profile system. Well, this is like an additional Telos profile system. Telos profiles is for native, but
mhm.
this would be for, we will set these up so they can be e, uh, for EVM. So I think people will be showing them off a lot. I think we will probably. I think there will still be some alpha for us to drop once they've all done, but they've all been minted. Uh, we're kicking it off with a fun event. So I think that like people will be jumping in on that. Hopefully we'll have a couple of cool little surprises for the first tranche that get minted out. Yeah, I don't want to spoil everything because the stuff that is in mind it sounds like a party.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's such a a knife's edge all the time to be like, oh, like did I tell them that? Like, can I tell them that? Like, I just it,
Let's save a few things.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
no, absolutely, absolutely.
I really like the fact that you were able to bring in that musician, right? Because and some people will have heard these on some of the sort of like funky throwback vibe, but like super groovy, like in and uh of the music, and the music really sets a tone. So there will, there's soundtrack. The website has soundtracks, and they're all sort of the similar kind of music that you would hear in the commercials. So it's it's starting to be a bit of a groove, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you know, and I think that's cool, right? I like it a lot, right? It's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna sort of like dip into this and listen to this cool ass music, and I mean, these things talk. You can talk to each other with these things too. That I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a relationship that I don't know we've seen in NFTs. Is kind of
Well, you
the
haven't seen
way
it in
I.
NFTs. It's not because it's not a straight up. It's not necessarily a straight up Twitter replacement kind of thing. It's it's kind of a little bit of a throwback to I don't know, something that like actually having to get on a phone and call somebody up, and I mean, I know those things that's horrible, but like it's kind of a there's kind you're kind of communicating to an audience of the club, and
Yeah.
not just it's you're telegraphing it out to everybody, and see who picks up on it and wants to follow up and have a conversation, and that can turn into like sort of threaded conversations. um that's going to be really cool. It's just different than no one's done that with like NFTs before, and it's not quite like Twitter or Telegram. It's not quite like like a Facebook thing. It's not quite like just an NFT that you own but can't really do that much with. So I don't know. It's going to be. I don't know how it's going to go. It's going to be interesting.
Well, and I think like to your point about leaving things open ended is we've we've developed the platform for that to facilitate that communication right now. But
Hmm.
we already have had pretty in-depth discussions about how to expand that out. As we kind of are rolling down the line too. So like
Hmm.
I don't want to spoil any of that, but like where we want to be, at least in as much as we can plan this, I think is a really interesting, fun, and dynamic way of approaching it. Because I
Hmm.
think that like it's going to be the same thing like the what I was talking about with the art, where I think like the community is going to influence what happens, and then that energy is going to be redirected through whatever we create platform wise too. So
Hmm.
I just that reciprocal nature of the community and the project, I think is I think once it really kicks into high gear is gonna it's just so hard to explain how exciting that feels.
Yeah. Some people are calling it so I've been talking about this for quite, the way that the basically NFTs are sort of a challenge coin, proof that you belong in a certain club, essentially. And the club it may initially be one thing, and it may over time it may evolve into something else. And if you don't like what it evolves into, you can get out of it. But you can also help it evolve into what it's going to be, right? So and some people are now starting to call those like NFT gated communities, which is interesting. Has some connotations, but like basically like you give it becomes your passport to private conversations, private real world events, regular drops of private cool NFTs. So I think the experience. So here's what I think it's going to turn into. Right, there'll be this initial thing where some people have 100 or more, and some people, just have one, or some people have like three or four because they want to keep one, but sell, they want to, sell a couple down the road, whatever. But over time, it's going to turn into something where most people have one or two, or whatever you really do have 10,000 people, and
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
those are people who are probably seen as Telos insiders first, because we're going to give one to a lot of the Telos, the people who built Telos and EVM, so they will have one. So um, I think that they may buy more, but we know that we'll precede it with some of the biggest contributors in Telos anyway. So that's a start, right? And then we will be doing a lot of drops, and like you get things that you only get, you can only get this thing, this NFT, because you were, because you are in the Telos Punks community, right? It creates, and I think that's really cool, and then people can sell those, or keep them, or whatever, but it will be cool, and they don't just have to be pictures. They can be music, there's a lot of things they could be, right? There's a lot of, they could be, all the same, or they could be unique procedural things. But we're definitely planning to keep, airdropping stuff. We're also, there's going to be these conversations. You're going to be able to make NFTs out of your conversations if you want, and mint those to everyone in the conversations, punk. I just think that's like really going to be cool. And um and I think that, as we do things like we go to this big event, the first big event, there's going to be, if you're a Telos Punk owner, you can get into the VIP room, right? And that's cool, right? And I think there'll just be more and more, and pretty soon there'll be more, as I know we've got some other projects that follow close on our heels, and Telos Punks owners are going to get, a lot of them are going to get airdrops of those. They may get a preferred price or automatic whitelist or things like that. We can, there's just, you're in, because once you own a Telos Punk, you're in the club, right? And I think that'll evolve into something really cool. I would not be at all surprised if we decide at some point that the public Telos channels are just, like not as fun as
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
Telos Punk channels. Like
yeah.
sometimes it's like, man, I love it. I love new people coming in, but like sometimes I just, like you said, you're like, hey, like kind of like a lot of my friends and colleagues and whatnot are in have been in Telos for a long time, and like if it'd be really cool not to constantly have somebody new coming in, or if somebody new comes in, it's somebody who has shown me that they are down with what Telos is doing, and they want to learn more because they bought a Telos Punk, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
it's and then like obviously I'll never get off of Twitter and stuff like that, but I think the social fi aspect of it will be really cool, and I think
Probably,
it's
probably be
yeah,
spending more time over there than on Twitter, to be honest. That's what I'm looking forward
maybe.
to.
I won't
That's
get
what
to.
I'm
You
looking forward
can, but
to.
I'm always going to have to be on.
Yeah.
But the
Um,
time I would enjoy, if I had time to just chill, I would be in. I think I would be in the Telos Punk social fi. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely. Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna cut you off there because we got a couple questions here.
Yeah. Good.
I'm gonna let Unknown go first, and then Barefoot right after. So
Cool.
you're up
Cool.
there, Unknown. Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Doing
Good
good.
to
Doing great,
good to
man.
hear. Hey, I got just one question about the scoring and the leaderboard. So, is it going to be based on the total score of all your punks, or just the highest rated one? And are y'all going to create your own rarity tool?
Um, Number one, there's no reason to create our own rarity tool because there's great rarity tools already, and so we would use those. We could build on those. Um, there's a number of ways we could do it, and the community will ultimately decide what they want. One way to do it would just be sum up all of the punks in that address. But another way to do it be sum up just the five most rare ones in an address, so it keeps it a little bit more fair. Um, you know, there's or the 10 or the whatever. Like it's the community will ultimately decide what they think is that right balance between, well, just the richest guy wins automatically versus it's more about curation, and these are the ones that you would put up for that, for establishing your score. Um, so and also, like we might in that score also include things that other NFT collections will come under the sort of the Telos Punks shield, right? Meaning we're going to share our community, they're going to favor our community airdrops and all that stuff. And then, but for those that do, some of those, the rarity of those collections may also um, weigh in. So I could see something where your top five Telos punks in terms of rarity get added up, and then we've got two other kinds of things, and that their top five get added up too, or whatever. And that's how we, and probably the punks would have a higher, a multiple, right, than the sort of the second generation type things. But there's lots of things you can do with math, right? The rarity is on chain, locked on chain, but in terms of how we divvy those things up and assign scores, there's lots of ways we can do it. And there'll be voting, there'll be governance, so we can make that we can make that community driven. um I don't know, I haven't figured it all out. I just think it'd be a cool thing to do. And I want to put in the things so we can do that. Probably a year from now we'll figure out a much better way to do it than I'm thinking about now, once we've had a chance to sort of play with stuff.
Yeah, that was the only concern would be is a guy that's got 100 of them is going to have a higher score than a guy that's got say five. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And like airplane racing and yacht racing and stuff like that, it's basically whoever spends the most money is going to win. uh, you know and
Yeah.
yeah, and that is not the Telos way. So I think that if putting some kind of limitation that's more achievable, right? And I don't know whether that's five or three or 10 or whatever, but something that people feel like you don't have to have billions of these things to win, or you can't just keep piling them on to win. Um, I think that'll be cool.
Well, and I think to the point too is what I've really noticed in the even the punk community already is how creative people are with the contests we've been putting on. So I even think just
Hmm.
continuing a lot of that energy where it's like, if people don't want to be laboriously like collecting points, there's still going to be those fun contests that lie in the more creative realm where they can kind of flex. So I don't want to like ever have anybody that can totally gamify the environment either. So I really want to reward creativity, but if people also just want to straight up do a little grinding, that can be advantageous too.
Yeah, you can have a cool story. There's going to be these, not immediately, but there's going to be ways to sort of like not quite tip, but like sort of like or whatever another punk, right? And drop some coin on them or something like that. And in doing that, that can also play to their advantage, right? You can include, like, you could very well incorporate that in the score. So you have the score based on the inherent traits, but you could also have, gain additional points by having 200 people like the story that you're writing about your punk, or your status, or whatever. Like, there's things you can do that can also, that all be recorded on chain, and so they could also be contribute to that. And we can try to mix it up too. We can have, there can be different leaderboards. There can be, I mean, it's all fun. To me, it's all experimentation, and that's
Yeah.
a lot more fun, right? No one's done this, so I don't know what the heck we're gonna do. We're gonna do cool shit, and it's gonna go from me and Gooey telling people what it's gonna be, to all of you guys telling us what it's gonna be.
Yeah, that's gonna be really interesting for sure. Okay, kicking it over to Barefoot there. You got a question?
Hey guys, hope you are doing well. Just one. Do you still planning to do a whitelist, and how to get whitelisted, and whether attendance to any of those AmA sort of gives me a whitelist, if that's still the plan?
Gooey's been more in charge of the whitelist, although we have to nail it down, because we have to we have to actually put that, add that into the contract. So yeah, I think we are having a whitelist. My understanding from the last thing I heard, Gooey, was that the whitelist is going to be a lower price. I don't know if it's going to be earlier access or not. Where have you landed on that? Because I don't think you and I have talked that one to death quite yet.
So from as far as well, maybe I answer your first question. If you want to get a whitelist, I'm always rewarding people who kind of step forward and ask questions. So hit me up in the Discord after, and I'll hook you up with it. Whitelist price is 180 TLOS, and public price is 200. And I was thinking at least half a day for whitelist, kind of jumpstart on the mint. Just for those people who have been participating, been just helping kind of build out the community. There's been so much creativity, and I know even somebody from within the punks community who started a project already. So it's cool to see like creativity popping off even in your own community.
Yeah.
So I really like that, and um, I think that like just rewarding people that put in the time and effort and want to be here for the long haul. So I mean, that's kind of where I'm leaning. I
Yeah.
don't like the white lists that are like an hour, because people got to take their kids to dance and that. Like, that's how I missed a
Mm.
lot of white lists. So I think making it a half a day, it gives people a easy enough window into minting, I think, and picking a time that works for a lot of time zones. But then after that, it's just a free for all. So.
Yeah. Are we going, and then so like how long that's going to be, that's something we kind of need to talk about. We need to talk about between ourselves, and then we also, obviously, we talk with our consultants and get their feedback as well. Because you don't want to make rookie mistakes. You don't want to do something and have them go, "Oh, did you really do that?" Because we pretty much know that it works better if you do this other thing. So we didn't want to make stupid mistakes. I don't want to make stupid mistakes anyway.
Yeah, amen.
But yeah. But I also think there was a question today, like, how many can you get per address? And before I was like, well, it doesn't really, I don't think it's good to limit addresses. If you could only buy 5 or 10 per address, because frankly, it's super easy to just make a new address, and it doesn't really stop anybody. I don't like stuff that doesn't I don't like stuff that only stops people who are newer to the community and don't understand how the blockchain tools work as well. Because, I mean, there's some of that's unavoidable, but there's some things where I would like it to be fair as much as possible. And so somebody might say, oh, I can only buy 5 with this thing, and not realize that all they have to do is make another MetaMask account and they can make 5 more there. Right? So might as well
Yeah.
do that. But at the same time, I don't know if we haven't quite talked about if getting on the whitelist means that you can buy unlimited at 180, or you can buy 10 at 180, or or 20 or whatever. We haven't talked through every we haven't talked through every bit of that. Before, we were planning on a whole different pricing model, and then the community got back to us and said we don't like that pricing model, and so we changed it. So I think there's fewer changes we can make now, but we could still make them. And so I'm open to whatever the community wants to tell us about it. I think we're definitely listening. If we don't do things that people suggest, doesn't mean we didn't listen to them and didn't think about them. But some things we have other reasons, offsetting reasons to do it one way or the other or whatever.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree.
Any
Yeah,
other questions? Now that GUI has just told you that you can get on the whitelist by asking a question. Any other questions? Or maybe that was only for the first 2. Who knows?
Well, I've another one. When is the actual new live date?
The 25th, right?
25th. That's right. Yeah.
I don't know if we to discuss what hour of the day that is. That has to do with there's an event, and so we have to make sure that we plan all the other pieces of the event around the new day and time. So I don't actually know, what hour UTC that's going to be, but GUI will tell me.
Yeah, we'll make
Thanks.
sure we'll pick a good time. We'll pick the best time. That's what we'll do.
The best time.
The best time.
TLOS time.
TLOS
Any other
time. That's right.
questions? Or, I mean, are you guys? I'm curious to hear, what you guys think about it, and what you're excited about, and and what you want it to be.
Well, I'm excited about the 3D and the metaverse. So, do y'all have any plans on using Blocktopia? Aren't they?
Possibly. I haven't looked into Blocktopia as much as I would like to. That deal actually came as a surprise to me too. So because I do mostly the tech stuff, and we've got a lot of work on a lot of projects, especially this one right now to get out. So when that came up, there was a time when I knew and was involved in everything that came across the TELOS desk for the first 2 years or more. Now there's the other stuff that surprises me. It's great. It's if you understand how much this has been really a 24/7 job for me for almost 4 years now. It's fun to be at a place where you hear other people talking about Telos, and where you're in a chat for some Telos app or something, or Dex or something like that, and people go, well, "Who are you?" I'm like, "Yes, that's awesome." There are people who totally like Telos who have no fucking clue who I am. That's awesome. That's because it means it's grown, and in the same way, there's other projects that come on that I didn't know they were coming. I'm like, oh, that's cool, great. Like it's finally hit that time where it's even though I'm super involved, it's grown beyond me knowing everything. It's cool. It's like when you have a kid and your kid's a baby. For the very beginning, the first couple of years, where every word they came. Oh, well, that's from Blue's Clues, and that's what Grandma says to them, and everything, and you can kind of like trace the origin of every thought in their head for like a year and a half or whatever, something like that. And then suddenly they start doing stuff that you don't know where it came from. right? It's like, wait, is that from a show, or is that from like their brain, or is that like it's no, they stop being a parrot and they start being, a person. And like that's cool. And I liken that to what it's like in Telos when all kinds of stuff that I didn't know about happens.
Well, and I think that to your question there, unknown is I had done the punks collection pretty early, and then in between, like I thought I'd finished it the first time, and then I started building in 3D because I'd seen a lot of collections doing that already. So I was like, I need to figure out how it is I'm even going to be building this stuff in 3D space, because I want to develop that so that when those opportunities arise for us, we've resolved 90% of how it is that that stuff even integrates. And it's led to just some really wonderful friendships with some other 3D artists that are part of the team now. And it's just what they bring to the table now is inspiring, because it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier is like I give them an idea, and then uh, they bring something back to me that's just so amazing, and I'm like, oh my god, like that's such a cool, like I to not be able to fully communicate, I think the the universe that I have kind of in mind for Telos NFTs and all of the players that are gonna kind of come to inhabit that space in the same kind of storyline and narrative, I think is going to be really interesting, and uh, really cool if I execute it, because I think it'll feel very meaningful, I think, because of the interrelated nature of the NFTs with each other. And obviously the community is going to grow in such a way that like that'll all be taken into account as well. So it's this kind of living, I mean, maybe this comes from my super nerdy Dungeons and Dragons background, but just the whole imaginative play that can happen here with punks. Um, is very similar to that of those kind of games where it's we don't kind of collaboratively just imagine things that often. So the fact that we're trying to do that with this project, and it just excites me to no end.
Yeah, yeah. I think that it's funny because when I, there's a lot of so one thing is people tend to, when there's two guys who are mainly putting something together, we have other people involved, but it's mostly Gui and I. When you have two guys and one guy is somebody sees as very technical and the other guy is the very much artist guy, you assume that Gui does all the art and I do all the tech, but in reality we talk about the art constantly and go back and forth, and he includes a lot of my ideas and whatnot, and we on the same on the tech side, we're talking about those things, and he a lot of the ideas that have gone into the tech side of it are from GUI, as much as for me. Most things are all kind of collaborations anyway, and that's really cool. So I was laughing, Gui, when you said, you thought the mint was done because you've done how many sets have you done? How many things have changed, right? Like a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
There have been many, like it was like, this is great. Oh, I love the way this looks. And then it's like, like how much time do we have? What if we wanted to add more? And what if we wanted to do these things and, refine this and stuff like that? And I just think it's really cool. Like the the components and the assets are just like pretty deep on this for a punks thing.
Well,
And I
and
dig it.
I I think what's going to be kind of fun too is there is lots of kind of Easter eggs
Mm-hmm.
to like people in the community, or kind of who've helped me on my kind of artistic journey, and it's kind of the ultimate. It's like I think about it kind of like because I used to be a musician, so it's like kind of like notes or names in the liner notes. You know, like
Mm.
you bury that stuff in there. It's in there forever, and only the people who really need to know. And I just love that little way to kind of immortalize your homies on chain, right?
Mhm.
Like that
That's
excites me
cool.
too. Yeah.
That's cool. And what we're doing, I mean, this is going to be an open source contract and everything. It has all these additional powers. So what that means is that people, who want to do their own art, it doesn't have to be generative art. I mean, it doesn't have to be 8-bit. It could be all kinds of things. It could be, but when they want to do their own uh, PFP type collections they can use the same things. I mean, like when you make these things, okay, well, this is going to be special, and we're the only ones in the world going to be doing this for like a second.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
everyone's going to
Yeah.
yeah, but they're going to copy us. But when they copy us, it increases the value of this because this is the first one. It's provably the first one that any of these features, and they'll be copying those features. But also, as more and more come out with those features, those kind of features will start becoming expected, and there'll be a lot of additional tools built around those features, right? And so when there's been 20 or 50 or whatever collections that basically use the contract system we're making, but with new art and new narratives and all that stuff, then it means that eh, more and more places are going to show those and incorporate those and be able to have the social fi element of those. So anyway, I think it's going to that allows it to grow much bigger than even we imagine. Like it goes from GUI and I, and then it goes out to the community, and you guys tell us, and then at some point other communities are going to have a strong influence, who are using the same tech are going to have a strong influence on what TLOS punks is, because certain things will, because the marketplace of ideas, right? People will hone in on certain things, like, and not care about other things, and it could reshuffle the value of some of these as well. Like if you just looking at them strictly as an asset, if you have one and it seems cheap now, and then suddenly some game comes out, and now the unique trait mix of that one that you have that was nothing special in a rarity only uh, world. But now that these things, the way a game has used it, if that game becomes popular, suddenly that one becomes worth, way more, right? And so and that could happen a lot of times as new games come out. So I think that's more of a thing that's exciting about, constantly raising the floor price. And there's still sort of a lottery ticket element to this that, like, it's like if you bet your numbers on the lottery, but but then you have a chance to win any week in the future if those numbers got called. I don't know. I think it's cool. Mostly NFT collections have their rarity set and baked in and static forever, right? But when you say, okay, we're going to build something that can have multiple use cases, then as new use cases come out and gain popularity, it basically creates that reshuffling of value.
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
So I don't know if this is blowing. It blows my mind just thinking about these things. I hope other people are kind of excited about this.
I think we got a question from Pokey Seraphim here.
Yep. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Word. Well, in some other NFTs that I'm in, they do some things where they like forge the NFTs together to maybe get another NFT, or they'll do like a thing where you have to like match a background panel to basically get a prize, being like tickets to a football game or some random stuff. I don't know, since I know you guys are doing boys and girls, maybe in the future, if you guys ever want to like make another 10,000 or something, and maybe have if somebody's holding like a male and a female, maybe they can make like a child or something, and like, or burn those two NFTs and make a more rare NFT. I don't know. Maybe like some ideas if you guys are ever thinking
Sky is the
about
limit.
Yeah, breeding mechanics are so interesting. I know I'm in a few collections where I've gotten to breed my NFTs, and all I can say is like I definitely like even the thought of a Gen 2 punks just tickles me pink. So I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself because we haven't even gotten these minted out, but I definitely am ambivalent to how that will be executed at the moment. But I want to do it in a creative way as well because I think that while breeding is like a fairly established thing for NFTs right now, I think thinking about ways like narrative driven that could replicate that same process, but I think fit into like a broader idea. If that kind of answers the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that goes into the idea of we putting in enough things that we don't have to have thought of possible every possible idea that we might be able to do right now, right? We can do more stuff like, and it's kind of cool, there's different races. So or whatever you call species, I guess is better. And so like if you've got two humans, great, you can have, a male and a female can breed. If you've got, and if you've got,
Or the
dogs,
human and alien.
maybe you can get litters of 8 new ones. And if you've got robots, you can probably have any number of robots, contribute parts, right? It doesn't have to be one male and one female. And if you've got aliens, I don't know, maybe it takes, maybe those maybe aliens can interbreed with anything,
Have mixed
through anal
mixed
probing.
trades.
And one more question: are you guys ever like once you release on the area NFT, and then are you guys releasing on like Tofu and then also on like OpenSea or anything down the line?
Well, these things will be open to. So we've done the ERC 721 contract, and we're using the most recent things. Like that's one from the most recent versions from the new release, the 4.0 release of Open Zeppelin, or 4.5 of Open Zeppelin standard contracts that just came out, which is one of the things that takes extra time to implement. So any place will be able to sell, right? You'll be able, if any place that manages ERC 721 tokens will be able, owners will be able to list them there, right? So it's not really for us to choose. Now some of them may give us special deals and say, hey, we're gonna, we're opting to, we think this is a special collection, so we're going to highlight it, or we're going to, do whatever to make it a more attractive place for owners to list them. But the owners, once you own them, and you list them where you want. The code is meant to be able to be listed anywhere.
Awesome. Well, that's it. I'm excited for the project, and good luck.
Cool.
Thanks,
Thank
brother.
you. Good luck to us all.
We got any more questions here before we wrap it up? Now it's time to get in if you don't have a whitelist spot.
I think it's a good time to wrap it up.
I think so too, man. I really appreciate you coming out and having a chat. It's great, and I hope kind of cleared the air on the reasons why we had to push it back a couple weeks. And I was it's funny, I don't know how to convey how nervous I was to have to bring that delay to people, because I really do care, right? Like I really do care about keeping promises, although sometimes it's out of your hands. but I'm so overjoyed with like how many people were just like, yo, like we got your back, just let it ride. We're here with you until we mint out. So I just
Yeah.
the community we've got already is, I think we've just got an assembly of really awesome humans already that I loving interacting with, and even like have had like some really meaningful direct message conversations with on Telegram. So I'm just looking forward to the future.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. And the thing is, it's not like we pushed it back because we didn't work on it. We pushed it back because we expanded the scope of what it's going to be. I mean, people go, well, why didn't you do it then? It's like, well, we're not doing the project we initially thought we were going to do because we had all these cool ideas. And wouldn't you rather have us do it later with a lot of cool ideas than something pretty standard? And so I just I I gotta say I don't, like, I understand people are disappointed with it being late because they're excited about it, and that is awesome. But
Yeah, yeah,
I never think of a planned release date as a promise that I'm breaking to people. That's because you know 3 months later, no one will remember. No one will care when it came out, right? And then 5 years later, no one will care that, what they will care is that about a lot is that, the collection ages extremely well because so much, because we put so many new, so many uses and whatnot into it. That's what people care about. So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I agree.
Okay, I'm
I
going to
agree.
take off, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for coming out, guys. And we're also gonna have Pictionary tomorrow in Discord. So if you want to grab a whitelist spot there too, come out and play. And make sure you're quick on the keyboard.